Hello, and welcome to another episode of Pampering Myself podcast. I'm excited today because we have some great information to share. If you have never been on a cruise ship before, or if you've never had experienced a pampering session before. But before we get into that, I want to give you some stats. I have a returning guest with me, my niece Tawana and the two of us will share our Aurora experience upon the MSC Seaside. But let's first talk about why it's important to take a vacation, regardless of what type of vacation you are taking. I have some stats here, an article written in Forbes by Caroline, and it talks about how the United States has become known as the no vacation nation. It's hard for me to believe that people don't take vacations. But when I think about myself and I think about the earlier years when we didn't really do vacations as much because we took the money and did home improvements or stayed around the house. And that wasn't really taking a vacation. So the research shows that we have become a nation of workaholics. And I'm sure that this has also been done in the past. And now they are collecting data to show that it's killing us. The World Health Organization said they found 745,000 people died in 2016 from heart disease and strokes due to long working hours. Now you can imagine that. And it worsened during COVID. Now the research shows that working 55 hours or more a week was associated with 36% of higher risks of stroke and 17% higher risk of dying from heart disease than a work week of 35 to 40 hours. So taking a vacation is essential to employee survival. We talk about COVID and how it has transformed the work life from going into the office to doing things such as the Zooms. And that in itself has been a big factor involved in deaths among working class people. Questions about working from home because she has worked from home a lot more than I have, and get her perspective on how it has affected her health and her mental stability. So Tawana, tell us how long you've been working from home first, and if you noticed a difference in your personality and your mental, your physical, any changes from when you used to go into the office and now working from home.
Yeah, so I've been working from home probably about 5 years now, consistently. And I will tell you that a lot of things happen. You have to intentionally be social. You have to force yourself out of the house. You have to force yourself into environments where you're having daily conversations with people. There's lonely moments because you're stuck. Like me, I'm on video calls sometimes all day long from morning till evening. And it's anxiety ridden. The clock, you're looking at the clock constantly going like, oh, I have another video meeting. I have another video meeting, and it's has an effect on your vision, your eyes. You're sedentary, so you have to make sure that you're getting up and moving. You have to make sure you're getting up and eating. And so, although, there's some convenience to it, there's no no separation between home and work. And so, yeah, I have to do very intentional things to create that separation to make sure that I'm doing healthy routines throughout the day. Otherwise, it becomes very easy to be isolated away from people and not being healthy.
And I know I remember always wishing, I said, oh, I want to work from a home job. But then when it happened during COVID for all of those, was a couple of years, Then when it was said we needed to go back in the office 2 days a week, I was excited to go back in the office because I actually stopped joining two of my organizations because they were meeting through COVID. I mean, meeting through Zoom. And those Zoom meetings got just to be overwhelming for me. And I can imagine that is your job and you're on those Zoom calls from early in the day to night. So the research has talked about, that I had read, talked about the Zoom meetings being a problem. And we will find years from now when that data is collected over a 10 or 20 year period and beyond, just how significant it is. So let's talk about the vacation time. Now, by working from home, what is your vacation? Have you taken 2 weeks at a time? The research talks about the Americans back in the day, people took 2 weeks off. I can recall I would take 2 weeks at a time and not necessarily go anywhere, but just be off from work. And then technology came along and people were able to communicate with you and expect you to respond. Now, I know firsthand that you're dealing with some of that now. So let's talk about what a vacation looks like, and have you ever really taken over the years 2 weeks at one time and totally been on vacation?
Yeah, you're right. There is an extreme difference. I remember when I was going into the office, there was no expectation for me to still be present when I took my vacation time. I mean, I'm in an environment now where I have unlimited PTO, but I never feel like there's a separation between my work and exterior life. So I have to do very intentional things like delete any type of app that's on my cell phone that's connected to my job, or mute any notification that's connected to my job. So there are things that I have to do now that I would not have had to think about when I was in the office years ago, before everything became so virtual, and the borders between work and home were eroded. And so, yeah, I would say this is my first vacation, real vacation, since I've been working from home in years. And there are still elements of my job creeping into my vacation life.
Right. I can recall also doing my thesis was stress in the workplace and the effects it has on health. And I recall doing some research where a lot of it was blamed on technology because people felt connected through their cell phones, through emails, whether it was to, they were scared they were going to get behind. So let me just peek in and, do some emails, check in and respond, or they get back a day early and then they go in their email or listen to their voicemails just so they can play catch up. And in my theory, it was, yes, there's no such catch up. Mm-hmm. There's no such thing as catch up. And all I'm doing is just stressing myself out over the fact that now I've taken off time. And I do that now. I've taken off time on vacation like we're doing, and we're worrying about when we go back to work.
Right.
So we have to learn how to take the time off because it is affecting us mentally, and also is affecting our bodies because we are so focused on always the work and yet not the taking care of our bodies. And since we've been on vacation here, one of our relatives that's on this cruise with us got notification that one of her teachers passed, one of her coworkers had passed. And I've always said that people always think that their jobs are really important, and they are. They are really important. But when you drop dead, and I hate to be so brutal as to say when you drop dead, that job will continue on. You won't find out, but that job will not fold. It might slow down until they get someone else to replace them, and things may be a little bit disarray for a minute. But that organization will not fall and fold, not one bit. And so, who, if you don't care about your own health and your physical, mental well being, who else is going to care about it?
Right.
Nobody. They will replace that person and they'll move and keep it moving. So today we're going to talk about our Aurora experience. And this has been, today is day 6 for us on a cruise ship. We're on the MSC Seaside cruise ship. First time for both of us being on this cruise line. And we're going to talk about some experience that we've had as a vacation. So if you have never cruised before, never thought about it, consider it, we are going to share some of the benefits and things that we have done to totally relax. And it wasn't until today, being day 6, that reality basically kicks in and we realize that this fantasy that we've had for the last 6, actually 7 days, because it started the day before, all ends tomorrow. But it has been exhilarating. It's been entertainment. It's been what life is all about. So, Tawana, can you tell in your own words, what's your observation? Let's talk about some of the things like the room service, the foods. What are some of the things that people can expect, first of all, when you get on the cruise?
Yeah. So when you get on a cruise, it's almost like being. It is like being in a whole nother world. You're in a moving world. That the only folks that exist are the folks that are on the ship. And so one thing, talking about what we talked about earlier, is that I felt like I had to slowly work my way into letting go of the hustle and bustle. So you always feel like you got to do something. I got to do something this hour. I got to do something that hour. What can I be doing right now? And really, it took till yesterday, day 5, to go like, I actually can settle down a bit. I can take in, yes, we have a jacuzzi on the balcony. I can take in a jacuzzi, and just look out at the water. Or I can take a nap, and these different things. It's like you have to break out of the routines that you've developed in that hustle and bustle during your work day. But you can expect, some catered attention under the Aurora experience, like your own personal spa invitations. The host for our room is very attentive and visits us multiple times per day to make sure we have everything that we need. We got robes and slippers and just a phenomenal experience. Champagne and chocolates and desserts when they thought that things weren't exactly as we wanted them. They send you an apology letter and some chocolates and then you can walk around the ship and have any of the food you want all day long, drinks you want all day long. Yeah, it was a great experience. You are interacting with different personalities, just like the real world. And so, you have to navigate some of that. But then you can, once you can get past any of those things, you can go ahead and relax and experience the saunas and the spa and the pool and just the mesmerizing blue, beautiful water. And we stop at different islands, and so there's a lot to experience on the MSCC side.
And really any cruise line, because I think I've been on 3 different cruise lines of multiple ships, but it has been an experience. And here's what my perspective of it. For 7 whole days, I didn't have to make my own bed. I didn't have to cook my own meal. I didn't have to basically clean up behind myself, although we really do. We don't leave a mess. I don't have to do a lot of things. So except get up in the morning, take a shower, go to the gym, do whatever it is I like. And when Tawana said to you didn't have to find something to do every day, there is something to do every day, starting early in the morning from sun up to sundown through, I think, maybe 2 o'clock in the morning before the clubs on the ship close. But they literally have activities for you and entertainment every hour on the hour throughout every single day. So if you are a person who would like to be entertained and kept doing different things, they have it for you. Today, because the Aurora experience, we have benefits of private areas. Went upstairs to what they call the Solarium Lounge, where it is for people who have the Yacht Club membership or the Aurora experience, Aurora Suites as they call them, and took a book up there and read. And Tawana yesterday went on the balcony, which we have a jacuzzi out there, and she sat out there and on the balcony. It's private. So it is a lot of things to do, and they can make you forget about work, and that it has. And unfortunately, most people start realizing that this fantasy is all over the night before we have to go back. And pulling in, I would say, I don't know about you, Tawana, but for me, pulling back in and seeing the port, it's kind of like depressing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my goodness, it's all over. We got to go back to reality. And even though we know it, it's not as bad as it was the very first time.
Right.
I mean, I darn near wanted to cry the very first cruise when we pulled into port. I was like, oh man.
Right, and we realized we had to cook all our own meals.
Yes, and so when you wake up the next day, it's like, where the Lido deck at? We was like, oh, we gotta cook, we gotta clean. But it was an escape, and that's what a vacation is supposed to be, an escape from reality. So it helps you unwind. It helps you see things from a different perspective, and it's healthy.
Yeah.
And really, if you don't do 2 weeks at one time, because I don't know if I would want to do 2 weeks, I like to break it up. I do a week here, 5 or 6 months later, I'll do another week and go do something else.
Right.
But it has to be a mental and physical downtime for you to regroup. Because in the research and the study, it is killing people. I mean, work is fine and we all have to do it, and you have a responsibility and a commitment to it, whether you're self-employed or whether you work for a corporation or not, but you also have to take care of yourself, because if you don't, I mean, you really don't have a job to go to.
That's true.
So before I get into some of the benefits of taking vacation and passing that information along, I want to ask Tawana if she has any recommendations, suggestions, tips that might help or encourage you if you aren't able to do cruises or different things, if you have budgetary problems or whatever it is. I want to see what she can share with us.
Yeah, so I'll say first off, I remember going on my first cruise about 15 years ago. I was not in my same income bracket. And I had to pay for my son as well. We went on a 5-day cruise. And the way that the cruise payments were set up, it really gave me an opportunity to give my son that experience. We were able to put down like a $50 deposit, and then we were able to pay over the course of a year, which made cruising affordable for me. And so that is one of the opportunities that I really love about taking that type of vacation, because you can put down these minimal amounts and be able to, afford this over time. But if cruising, for whatever reason, that still isn't accessible to folks, I definitely recommend spending time outside in nature, going to the park, listening to the water, like really deeply tuning in to nature's, what the birds have to say, what the crickets and the, nature has to say, because it really does have a psychological impact on you when you can shut down what your mind is thinking about, everything else that's happening in the world, and you can just tune into nature and listening to those sounds and putting your feet in the water, and you can do that, one day or multiple times a month. I've found that where I live, there's a island called Belle Isle, and sometimes I just drive around there at 20 miles an hour, and just that trip around there changes my whole mindset for today. And so there are just many opportunities to escape from what's happening in reality and just really just deep breathe. And that's another thing I want to say really quick. I learned a few years ago that we do not take breaths a lot of time. When you're in hustle and bustle, like if you really think about it, you're not even taking enough oxygen into your lungs and into your body throughout the day. We're just nonstop going, nonstop going. You have to sit with your body and you have to breathe in deep so that your body has all it needs to function properly. And just the act of deep breathing helps you with your mentality. It helps you to clear your mind of things that are happening outside in the world. If you're feeling stressed, it helps to calm you down. If and all those things. So taking deep breaths, tuning into nature, spending some time by the water, like those are all very important things for your mental health.
I agree. And even let's say you don't have access to a car. I sit on my patio and I sit in a swing, but it could very well do the same thing in a chair and just ponder. Just look out at nature on the skies, the trees, to listen to the squirrels, the birds, different things like that have also been calming and could put you in a different mind state. We have an election, a presidential election coming up. Things are changing in the world, and they are adding more stress to our everyday life. Simple things. What people say to us, what they don't say to us, is becoming more aggravating. And so we have to find coping skills to be able to get through these things. But I'm also reminded as we spent this afternoon when we went to the spa, some of the places you can go to that are standalone. So we experienced all of these things on the ship because they were part of our package, but they're standalone spas. And for the first time we went in, I had never heard of this, called a snow room. It was very interesting because it was snowing there and it was cold. And we were talking to someone, and they said, you go into the sauna first, because I stepped into the cold room, and I'm in a swimming suit, and I'm like, ooh, it was freezing. But I went into the sauna first, and then we went into the snow room, and we were actually able to stand in there. I guess the thing, even with the water, hot, cold, and I'm going to have to do a little research on that to find out what the benefit is. Because that's exactly what they told us. Come out of the sauna and go into the snow room. So that's an extreme heat and then extreme cold. So there are a lot of different benefits to things that we can do and we can find. And they don't have to be on the scale of like this cruise ship. It could be something as simple as a local place. You talked about the infrared, the place that you go to, Tawana, for your, and where they use the infrared for
Sauna.
the sauna. So it can be just a spa and just have one service.
Yeah, and honestly, this place is metaphysical. Not that I'm doing advertisements or anything, but like metaphysical, I would go to the sauna once a week, the infrared sauna, and for a full session, it was $25.
Mm-hmm.
So and I feel like a whole new person when I come out of the infrared sauna, and you go in there in a private room. You're
Mm-hmm.
able to be alone with your thoughts, and it's just a very comfortable experience. So yeah, I would recommend if you have an opportunity to go to places within your budget. Try your YMCA's.
Yes.
Where those are um, income based a lot of times, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they don't charge you at all. And so utilize your recreation centers, your YMCA's, and different things like that, and just take that time to be in those spaces that nurture wellness.
Mm-hmm. And that's a variety of things, but of course, it doesn't cost anything to walk. So if you're capable of getting out, walking on the pavement, or even in a house, or however you do it, walking also can help clear. Put some headphones on or some meditating music, and those are things that can help clear your mind. But we have to get those numbers down, because it is just ridiculous, the amount. And it's not just elderly now, because they're talking about 35 and 40-year-olds dying from heart attacks.
Well, remember, I had a mini stroke.
Yeah.
And I'm in my 40s.
These kids, back in the day when you used to say, what do they have to be worried about? Well, I believe at any age now it's been proven through suicide with young folks, and uh, heart attacks and strokes, that it could occur at any age.
Yeah.
So you have to be very mindful and careful, and think that they need breaks just as well as anybody else.
The overexposure in technology. We talked
Oh
about the
my
loneliness
goodness.
that a lot of young people are experiencing, the
Mm-hmm.
pressure to compete on levels that they didn't have to worry about before, the cyberbullying that's
Mm-hmm.
exacerbated to, the 100th power. Those are all things that our young people are experiencing that we did not have to think about when we were
Right.
their age.
And they're tied to them.
Yeah.
And if somehow, I'm one that say technology is good. I also say technology is going to be the death of us,
Mm-hmm.
because it just monopolizes your attention. People are glued to the phones. That would be a challenge, just to put a phone down. I know we went on a couple of cruises before, and um, my daughter Alicia and my husband both, they turned their phone off and put it in the safe. Well,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, because I wanted to be on social media. But
Right.
I mean, who would do that now? Just think about that. How many
Mm-hmm.
people actually turn their phones off and shut them down
Right.
for any length of time? I can't say that I've done it at all.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that'd be a challenge for me to just say I'm cutting. I know you cut off for social media for various reasons, but other than work, if I'm on vacation, why do I really need my phone?
Yeah.
Well, I might think of an emergency, but
Mm-hmm.
it depends on where you're at. It's nothing you can do anyway.
Right. And one thing I'd like to add is that our relationship to technology has been minimized to only mean digital technologies. And it's important for us to remember that there are technologies that existed before the internet, before laptops,
Right.
before cell phones. And so get in touch with those other technologies. One example is you read a book on a deck. That is a
Mm-hmm.
tool, that's a technology. Writing,
Mm-hmm.
utensils, and just writing some poetry or different things like that. That's a technology. And so there are technologies that we utilize that don't have to necessarily be connected to the internet. And so one of the things that we have to challenge ourselves in doing is thinking about those tools and technologies that aid us in ways that are not necessarily connected to the digital ecosystem. Not to say, like you said, there are benefits to that, because you've been promoting wellness on this cruise.
Yes.
So it's not like you've just been on social media, just,
right.
scrolling.
My whole thing about was wellness.
Right,
yes.
exactly. So, everything in moderation.
Yes, absolutely, in moderation. And when we go back to the technology in the book, I know people like to read on their Kindles, or they read their books on their phone or their iPad or whatever. I want to touch a book.
Right.
I want to highlight. I highlight in my book, and I know you can do all that on the iPad. I tried it. I just still like a book. I like a physical book in my hand.
Right.
I can't read the news on a computer, any of that. I want to read it in my hand.
Right.
So I guess, I know it's to each his own, but I know there's also things that are, stress us out. We talk about the computer. I'll say that can be damaging to your eyes, to just stare at a screen for hours and hours and hours. And eventually, I'm sure there's data on that, but eventually we'll find all of how many people who have been affected by that long term looking at these screens.
Well, I have to have a new technology in my glasses, the blue blocker light, to prevent the harms that come through the computer screen, on top of all the other things that are in my glasses.
Now, I had some kind of tint put on when I did my last eye exam. She said, do you look at a computer screen? So it is a difference. I don't know exactly what's in it, but it is for looking at the computer screen, because it can damage your eyes. I mean, when it's done, we'll find out. We won't think about it over time, but it's so much, that is so harmful that we don't even think about.
Right.
And so that would be a good time to take that break, so I don't have to look at a computer for 7 days or 8 days while I'm on vacation. But people looking at those little phones,
right,
that is not good at all. Well, Tawana, as usual, I want to thank you again for coming on. We have enjoyed this cruise, the Aurora experience. It is a suite. It is not the common course of what you get. It has been well worth the price. I would suggest it to anyone. Of course, there are other services, some of the services that you can purchase separately if you are interested in the spa service. The massage was not a part of it. That was additional, that we'll be going to in the next hour or so. But it's definitely rounding out our experience from the last 6 days or 7 days, or however many days. This was day 7. This must be day 7. Yeah, this is day 7. So it is the getting towards the end of day 7. I've enjoyed it and looking forward to the next one. And I now will share benefits or things of how important it is to take a vacation of some sort. So, according to my research, an article written by Dr. Andrea Robinson wrote in Psychopharmacological and Substance Abuse Newsletter, she wrote what she found to be 4 reasons to take a vacation this summer. And this is all according to the science. Number 1, life satisfaction. Taking a vacation can result in many physical and mental benefits. And what's even more encouraging is that the experiences you have while on vacation can have a lasting effect in a positive light, which can affect your current state of happiness. Number 2, physical improvements. A Framingham Heart Study found that vacations actually reduce the risk of heart disease. Now, the study tracked subjects over a 9-year period and found a positive correlation between more frequent vacations and longer, healthier lives. And the study found that skipping vacations for just 1 year could increase your risk of heart disease. Number 3, mental health benefits. Vacations can also improve your mental health by reducing depression and anxiety. Stress by removing people from activities and environments that are associated with stress and anxiety. Even a short vacation can reduce stress. There was a small Japanese study that found a short 3-day leisure trip reduced perceived levels of stress and reduced levels of stress hormone called cortisol. Number 4, it improves productivity. Finally, studies are showing taking time off from work can actually make you more productive. Now, a study conducted by this Boston consulting group found that the professionals who were required to take time off were significantly more productive than those who spent more time working. So the employees reported tasks have to complete as part of their job are less effortful after vacation compared to before vacation. So when you're productive, you're happier, and when you're happier, you're a better worker. So employers should encourage vacations. They should almost make it mandatory that you take time off. And I know where I work at, they sell vacation back. And that's something that employers have been doing for some years now, is allowing employees to sell back vacation. And why anyone would accumulate vacation to the point where they had to sell it back, well, I guess that's a job where one of two things can happen. Either the employee's not allowed to take time because of staffing levels or issues, and so it's just getting turned down, or for some reason an employee just doesn't put in for the time. Either one just seems to be an abuse of vacation time to me. So my vacation time has accumulated well, but I am one who will take my vacation. And I now see the benefits of it and can testify to a lot of these benefits, because even though I took it at a time this year where it was a little earlier than normal, and so my work levels were up and I knew what I was coming back to, it didn't stress me out the way it normally does, because I came back, number one, anticipating that I was going to have a high work volume. But because of my mind frame being relaxed and also looking forward to the next vacation. So we want to make sure that we do take that time off, as Tawana had mentioned. If it's not for a cruise or a Disney World trip or an out-of-town trip, at least take some time off and be one with nature, or just relax and do some things that are not so stressful. We did learn that on this total 8-day journey that we did not have to fill every single day with something to do. Now, we did for the majority of it, but we did take a day or two to just relax and to be mindful and intentional about relaxing, because just running from point A to point B, whether it's work related or a vacation, can still be stressful. So I encourage you to continue to think of ways to relax and enjoy life. And think about these studies, because the studies are done based upon the information that the participants give and how people respond. A 9-year study following people and what they do or don't do as far as vacations and heart disease is nothing to frown at. So I encourage you, take some time off from work, or even some time off from if you're not working still, your everyday life of stress or moving around. And just get out and smell the fresh air. Do something different to keep yourself alert and healthy. And until next time, don't forget to pamper yourself.